initiatives. And I know everybody hates the initiatives, and all elitists believe that it should be much harder to get things on the ballot, until you realize that when you get something on the ballot, it rarely wins, this being a wonderful point. There were 3 referred measures. Only one of them won. And these are bookkeeping measures that the legislature puts on. Can we take the lottery out of the department of this and put it into the department of that? Who the hell cares? That lost. That lost. The Doug Bruce,
because it would have cost $160,000 in a year where they're facing a $1.2 billion. People read the Blue Book, John. Give them credit.
The Catholic Church fought it as well, because it would have affected bingos, or they feared it would affect bingos and raffles. So
don't mess with the Catholics.
Exactly. That's what I'm just saying.
Don't mess with Sister Paul Bernadette. She'll come after you.
I don't do it.
All right, but
the only one that passed is the one that says if there's nuclear holocaust, we can move the state capital out of Denver to Aurora.
Right. And as a Republican, I'm thinking if there's a nuclear holocaust, that's a 1+ is that government's gone. Anyway, but all of them went down, and they were really driven by the ugly 3, Doug Bruce's amendments, no matter how you look at it, and that cluttered up the other ones, including mine, which is 63, which I swear, if it had a different number, it wasn't in the 60s, would have won. Do you think I'm right on this?
I think if you had,
feel good.
I think I do. I do. I think if you had an election separate just based on what you put forward, there's a good chance it's going to win.
The anti-Obamacare initiative.
Versus lumping it in with a bunch of other things on a long ballot in a year when $6 million is spent saying vote no on 60, 61, and 101. That gets in people's heads, and they go in and they just vote.
By the way, it wasn't
no.
my choice to give it the number. I don't.
You didn't have enough money to. No. I mean, all the oxygen was sucked up by the Senate race.
You couldn't buy an ad.
I mean, you couldn't buy an ad.
No.
Yeah, in many ways. I mean, it was simply overwhelming.
Did you try to make me feel better?
You didn't have enough money, John.
So in other words,
I'm just saying, for your purposes,
you're like Rocky's wife, You can't win, Rocky. You can't win. All right. But were you surprised by the amount of money or against the Doug Bruce amendments? Now, as I told you before the show, the great Joe Kennedy quote, I'm willing to buy an election, I just don't want to pay for a landslide. 25 for, 75 against. The Denver Chamber must have money coming out the wazoo if they can spend that kind of money.
I guess I was surprised in the total amount, but I was not surprised that you get that many people. These were extreme measures. These were not just, hey, should we repeal the faster fees that are your higher vehicle registration fees, or the property tax, bump that down. These were extreme, taking vehicle registration back to 1919 level. So I was not surprised that many people would come together and try to kill.
I still don't know how 101 made it onto the ballot. That is so violated, in my mind, the single subject rule. I mean, it was 14 different fees and taxes, all rolled into one.
They're all fees and taxes.
Well, keep in mind that since Andrew Romanoff put on, now we're getting really wonky. If you want to go watch reruns of Star Trek, you can do this again. But you go back a couple years when the Supreme Court allowed Amendment 59, which was Andrew Romanoff's amendment, which did the same thing. It pulled things that were statutory and constitutional and did that. So, there's no such thing. The personhood amendment, this was a Republican year. So now they were going to get more votes. They didn't. I don't think they did, statistically they did the same that they did 2 years.
Sixth time in 15 years that we've voted roughly on the topic of abortion. I mean, I think people know where they're at. I think the people who are.
This one wasn't.
Again,
let's be honest. This wasn't an abortion issue.
No, it takes it a step too far again. You keep running measures that are just too extreme, and Colorado is not an extreme place. You want to put that on a bumper sticker?
Yeah, we're not an extreme place.
Welcome to Colorado.
Welcome to Colorado. We don't take harsh positions. By the Denver Post. Yeah.
Our signs are brown. Our signs say, welcome to colorful Colorado. We're brown.
Brown signs. We're brown. There, right?
All right, state legislature. Republicans take over by 1 seat, and even that was close. We were up to
200 votes?
200 votes gives the Republicans a majority in the state house.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, Governor Owens always talked about how it was easier in many ways to govern when it was a split chamber rather than when Republicans had the entire both chambers in the legislature. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, Hickenlooper, I think we can all agree, is a brilliant marketer. I mean, and he understands it, and the difference is now he's entering a circus where all 100 members think they ought to be the ringleader, as opposed to a council where, 9 think they ought to be the ringleaders. In many ways, it's going to be fascinating to see his marketing acumen go up against people, and we'll see who's going to win those public relations battles. Because I would argue, even when the Democrats had chambers, Governor Owens won the public relations battles because he was better at it than they were. And even this is even beating Andrew Romanoff. I would argue it kind of the marketing of messages. In many ways, I think that's what the Republicans, and even not just the Republicans, this is what the legislative Democrats have to look forward to, is if they think they're going going to be getting a certain kind of governor, like they've had the last 4 years, they're sadly mistaken. This guy understands how to get policies, and frankly, they're going to be his policies. They're not going to be their policies.
But this is going to be the first time he's going to have to work with people from around the state. You know, It's a whole different thing to push goofy things like fast tracks and bring mayors together. That's wonderful. But yeah, bring the guy from Grand Junction in on fixing the budget. That's going to be tough. This is going to be different for him. And his quirky little urban style pencil neck geek thing that plays so well here, I don't know if it plays well in rural Colorado. We'll find out. But nobody does it better, and he does have administrative experience, unlike Ritter.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you need to find that fine line between Governor Owens sort of running everything in this imperial governorship where he was in charge of everything versus the legislature running around Governor Ritter and telling him what to do and what to wear when he shows up at the press conference and everything else. I think that split government, having Republicans control the House even just by one vote, is going to benefit Hickenlooper immensely. And you're right, he's a smart, savvy politician. He'll figure this out.
All right, quick prediction, less than a minute left. Who fills Hickenlooper's shoes? Who's the next mayor? You know, everybody, they all think they are. We're talking about perhaps Penfield Tate. Chris Romer's now popping out. He's got the right last name. Come on, boys.
I'm not going to say Romer. If I had to predict right now, I would say Michael Hancock, but I don't know. I think it's too early to tell. I mean, if we think about it at this point, you know, 8 years ago, no one knew John Hickenlooper was at 6%.
That's true.
At this point, I would say it's probably Hancock's to lose, and if he loses it, it'll probably be to James Mejia.
There you go. Put your money on it there, and if he's wrong, cancel your subscription to the Denver Post. Dan Haley, thank you from 9 News. Adam Schrager, congratulations on the book, The Blueprint, which you can buy anywhere, and you must buy. Listen for me late nights on 850 KOA. Check us out at the Independence Institute. That's independenceinstitute.org. Wherever you go, tell a friend about this show. We'll see you next week.